the sport of the 70s. And while auto racing gets the biggest share of spectator following, there are avid supporters for almost every kind of speed sport that finds man and machine zooming over land, snow, or water at breakneck speeds. Each type of racing requires an individual set of driving skills, timing, reaction control. But it's the appeal of competition that pits man against man in quest of fame and glory that comes with the checkered flag. It cost $25.5 million to turn a vineyard into a racetrack, and it was worth it. On Sunday, September 6, 1970, during the Labor Day weekend, the newest, most modern raceway in the world, the Ontario Motor Speedway, opened with the inaugural running of the California 500. California racing fans were eager for the thrills of Indianapolis-style competition. By 10 o'clock, a full hour before race time, the grandstands were full. A paid attendance of 180,223 spectators anxiously awaited the start of their first California 500. Ontario was patterned after Indianapolis with an identical 2.5-mile track, but there are differences. Lloyd Ruby, who has driven more miles at Indianapolis than any other current driver, compared the tracks prior to his qualifying run.
It is quite a bit different than the Speedway, although you have 4 turns, same straightaway, but here you have a little bit more bank coming off of the turns and through the short chute, and it does hold the car a lot better, and that's the reason it speeds up quite a bit more than it did the Speedway.
It was supposed to have been the same measurements and everything as Indianapolis, and of course the distance is the same, but the banking in the turns is a little bit higher, and the pavement's a little different, and we get a little stickier conditions, so you can run faster. That's why you saw some pretty fast speeds this morning. When Lloyd Ruby qualified at 177, of course, nobody's ever run that speed at Indy.
Lloyd Ruby won the coveted pole position with a qualifying run of 177.567 miles per hour. Joe Leonard's 3-year-old qualifying record at Indianapolis is 171.559 miles per hour. Lloyd Ruby and Art Pollard called it right on. Ontario is faster. Here they come. The pace car pulls off, and 33 of the fastest qualifying cars look for that green flag to start the inaugural California 500. And there it is. Lloyd Ruby takes the lead, with Al Unser challenging Dan Gurney for the number 2 spot. Unser takes it on the back straight, and into turn 3, it's Ruby, Unser, and Gurney. Though designed and built with safety in mind, the Ontario Motor Speedway does have some peculiarities of its own. Roger McCluskey talked about turn 3 before the race.
It is a little unusual from what we've run on in the past, and the reason for it is the rear straightaway is elevated 25 feet higher than the front straightaway, so the fans can all see the complete racetrack. What you run into as you go into 3, you drop down slightly. In other words, the turn, instead of being up flat, just kind of banks off and drops just a little bit. So when you go in, the turn is kind of go over a little hump and then down there in the turn, and it's just something that we're going to have to get used to.
Veteran Jim Hurtubise never completes his first lap as turn 3 claims its first victim. Al Unser grabs the lead from Ruby, who might be having engine trouble. On the 42nd lap, a broken camshaft forces top qualifier Lloyd Ruby out of the California 500. He is the 10th driver to be eliminated because of mechanical trouble. Unser, the leader, makes his first pit stop on the 47th lap. For the next few seconds, the race takes place in the pits. Dan Gurney, running second, now has an opportunity to take the lead. Streaking down the main straight, Gurney passes Unser, still in the pits, to take the lead. A disappointed A.J. Foyt, plagued since the start of the race, makes his 4th pit stop of the day. He has thus far spent a total of 35 minutes in the pits. Turn 3 takes its second victim out of the race on the 98th lap as Dan Gurney crashes the wall. The uninjured Gurney climbs out of his car and out of the race. year's Indy 500 winner, Al Unser, driving the Johnny Lightning Special, is now in the lead. On the 169th lap, turn 3 chalks up its third and final victim of the day as Joe Leonard blows a tire and spins off into the infield. The strain of running at top speed for over 3 hours takes its toll. While running in third place, Mario Andretti drops out with mechanical trouble. After leading the race for over 80 laps, Al Unser in car number 2 can't get his engine to fire up coming out of his final pit stop and has to pull off the track and out of the race with a blown turbocharger. The crowd looks for a new leader. Leroy Yarbrough of stock car fame takes the lead, driving car number 32 for the former world champion Jack Brabham. Luck runs out for Leroy after leading for 5 laps as his engine strains and blows the turbocharger. With Yarbrough out of the race, Art Pollard, number 64, takes the lead, with Jim McElreath in Foyt's backup car number 14 running second. A.J. Foyt crashes the wall with only 5 laps remaining in the race. If the race continues under the yellow caution light caused by Foyt's accident, the cars will be required to hold this position and Pollard will win. Foyt, in an attempt to aid McElreath, helps the emergency crew clear the track. And on the 196th lap, the green flag is out and McElreath passes Pollard on the straightaway. McElreath keeps the lead for the last 4 laps, but it's still a very close win. In a race that took 3 hours, 7 minutes, and 22 seconds, McElreath's winning margin is just 2 seconds. But it's enough to place him in the winner's circle and the Ontario record book. A very happy A.J. Foyt congratulates his teammate. Jim McElreath is the winner of the first California 500. To keep their reflexes sharp and for the fun of it, professional drivers such as Bobby Unser, Parnelli Jones, Joe Leonard, and Roger Ward try their hands at racing snowmobiles. Racing a snowmobile at speeds that can exceed 100 miles per hour over a twisting, turning course places exceptional demands on a driver's control. Run the race in a snowstorm and the demands are drastically increased. The professional driver races snowmobiles to sharpen his skills and quicken his driver control. Driver control is developed bit by bit from the experience of competing in many kinds of races on various tracks. This control is vital to safe racing and winning. Championship driver Bruce Walkup recalls the beginning of his racing career.
My father had a midget that he ran right after the Second World War, and he was an avid race fan, good mechanic, and he and I got together. We purchased a sprint car, and I cut my racing teeth out at Ascot Park in Gardena.
Midgets and sprints provide the proving ground for new drivers. His talent and native ability are tested. It is here that he learns and develops control, and that control, once learned, cannot be allowed to become rusty. Most champions continue to race midgets and sprints once or twice a year during their careers. Midgets and sprints are raced on both paved and dirt tracks. The skill learned on dirt tracks is usually applied on that next step up, on championship dirt cars. If he's learned control, he can take a turn on 3 wheels and maintain his position. Midgets, sprints, championship dirt cars. These represent the upward climb for most drivers, but not all. There is another form of competition that calls for a different breed of driver, a different set of reflexes and driver control.
Single important element in making a run in drag racing would be the way the driver reacts to the Christmas tree.
I feel the most important thing is you got to get the right light and do your best.
Whoever calls the light the best and all, and if you're within, tolerances, you'll win.
Move first and still have a green light.
Most important element in racing would be your alertness.
To run 1/10 of a second under the record, that'd be as fast as you can run without running out of the bracket.
The Christmas tree is the unbiased starting line judge. A countdown of 5 amber lights gives the drivers fair warning of the impending green. Jump the green light and you're disqualified. Hesitate and you're beaten. Staging and starting properly takes skill and uncanny reflexes. Too much throttle and the tires spin freely in a display of wasted horsepower. Too little horsepower sends its mount straight up into a nerve-shattering wheel stand. The wheel stand is spectacular, but it won't win the race. Ronnie Sox and Buddy Martin, the first team to win every major pro stock drag racing title. Let's take a ride with the professional, Ronnie Sox of the Sox and Martin team. Nobody gets a second chance in drag racing. Either you win or you're eliminated. Matched cars compete with each other until one car in each class stands alone as the top eliminator. It isn't how fast you go, it's who crosses the finish line first that determines the winner.